Morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a Sunday sermon. I would like to thank each and every one of you that join us every Sunday morning. There are many people that I know are anxious to hear the words of the Holy Spirits. And this morning, you're going to hear the words of Mary, Mother of Jesus. Her messages are always very clear, very loving. And I know that she's here with us, so let us begin. Yes, good morning, everyone. I would certainly like to thank you for listening to my words this morning. I hope that I do not disappoint you. There are many, many terrible things going on in the world today. You can learn of them by simply listening to the news or reading the newspaper. Hopefully, what you're reading is the truth, because so many things are lied about. Propaganda is everywhere. You really don't know who you can trust. But you know who you can really trust? God. You always know that the words that you hear from God or from us is going to be the truth. You see, the only thing we want is for humans to advance. The only thing we want is for humans to understand that God is very real, that He is with all of you, that He hears every words of your prayer, but especially that He'll give you guidance. When you ask for help, you will receive it. You may not realize that you receive it, but God does the best that He can do. Many of you have life plans that are very difficult. When you decide to become a human, you understand that you will have a very difficult life. So there are things in that life plan that God really can help you with. You chose it, and you're going to have to live with it. When you pray to Him, there are many things that He can do. But as you've heard through the years, there are many things that He can't do. He won't go against your life plan because that would be destroying a lesson that you need to learn. It is far better for you to learn a lesson now than to have to return and learn it again. Lessons only need to be learned once in the history of a human soul. When people take their own lives, they end any ability they have to learn lessons in that life. Taking your life should be the absolute last thing that you would ever think of. Suicide is terrible. It causes intense grief for all of those loved ones that are around you and care for you. And it destroys your life plan, which means you have to repeat all the lessons that were in that life plan. Maybe one of those lessons is what drove you to take your own life. Well, that lesson is going to be repeated. It's not going to be any easier the next time. Your best bet is simply to have faith in God. Know that heaven is this incredible place where you will be going when the lessons are over. And know that you can always ask for help. The angels will help. The Holy Spirit, such as myself, will help. Each day, millions of people pray to me. Each day, I do the best I can to help others. You see, my soul was chosen to give birth to the greatest human that ever lived. My son was Jesus. You may refer to him in different ways. You may not even believe in him. But I can assure you that he was my son. He did exist. We raised him from an infant like any other human soul would enter this planet. We taught him as best we could, and he taught us. Even as a child, he was special. He taught us many things. He taught us love. Can you imagine a child that did not hate? We couldn't. We had other children. We knew what normal children were, that they fought, they cried, they tried to take the playthings of others. You see, that's a terrible lesson, taking the playthings. You must always tell the baby not to do that, because that they grow up into adults and they still may try to take the playthings of others. Isn't that what war really is? One country trying to take things from another country. Lessons can be learned on all scales. They can be learned on a personal level, one-on-one, or they can be learned for countries and nations. Many leaders don't understand the truth of God. That is very sad. Many individuals even make fun of my son and of God and of all the Holy Spirits that supported him. The people that make fun of my son, they will be judged for it. Most of them don't believe in God. Most of them don't believe in my son. Most of them don't believe that there's a heaven. Most of them believe that when they close their eyes, all things will end. Couldn't be further from the truth. When you close your eyes, you have that new beginning. Your soul enters heaven. The angels will be with you, your deceased family members that went before you. You will be in this incredible place, assuming that you believe in God. If you don't, it's going to be a bit of a different adventure for you. If you believe in nothing, then perhaps that is what you will receive upon death. Nothing. You may enter this darkness, this area of nothingness, because that's what you believe in. There'll be a time that the angels will come for you and you'll see the light and you'll have the chance to go to heaven. But you do not want that time of nothingness. You see, you're living a life of nothingness if you don't believe in God. You may have all the wealth that you can imagine. You may have all the trappings of that wealth. You may have the yachts. You may have mansions. You may have beautiful women bowing to your greatest wishes, but you have nothing. You see, all of those things are nothing. Money is nothing. Money is simply a means of those in control of controlling others. If money is required to purchase things and to live in existence, then those that control money control your lives, don't they? That's the way it is today. Many countries simply control the money supply and who gets it, how much people get. Many countries just try to give people enough money to exist, to get along. They do that while they're living in their mansions. Trust me when I tell you that there are very few national leaders that just get along. Many people just want to enter politics for the power that it gives them. They want to control others. Even in democracies, the people that vote are controlled. They're controlled by the money people. They're controlled by the newspapers. They're controlled by the news, by social media. As your technologies grow, you are controlled by many more people. Life used to be very simple. When I gave birth to my son, we just had to worry about the Romans. We didn't have to worry about our televisions running out, losing access to the internet, owning a new car. Our mode of transportation was very simple. We had carts, we had donkeys, camels. We didn't have to worry about new model years. We just had to keep them healthy. We lived a very, very simple existence, but yet it was very difficult. We had to have money to exist as well. Money was invented a long time ago. It was probably the most efficient tool of control ever invented. Those that have money have a lot of control over individuals. The individuals that don't have a lot of money don't have access to the good educations, the good working conditions, the good jobs. They have to get along pretty much on their own initiative. Now, today, you're seeing colleges charge exorbitant fees. They charge so much for an education that you have to wonder whether that education is worth it. But what you really have to wonder is what you're being taught in those colleges. You see, many of the professors, they're so smart that they don't believe in God. They don't believe in democratic controls, democratic elections. Many of the so-called elite have gone down a different path. They've been misled. And because they're so smart, they don't even realize it. They've been taught that there is no way God can exist because you can't see him, you can't touch him, you can't feel him. But what you can do is you can look around and see all of his miracles. And that is the one thing that these so-called intellectuals or elites have missed in their lives. Do you think that a baby could be conceived and born if it wasn't a miracle? These elite need to go out and try to duplicate it. Maybe they will learn their lesson, because there's no way they can ever duplicate such a miracle of God. You see, God wanted everyone to be able to participate in the miracle of birth. Giving birth, stop and think about it. 2 cells conceive and create billions, and those billions of cells can think for themselves and will grow into individuals. And each individual will have a spark of God within them. Truly the greatest miracle of all. Now, my son did the greatest physical miracle that you can conceive of when he resurrected. He not only rose from the grave, but he resurrected that he could reappear in solid form. We're waiting to watch to see how many of the elites can accomplish this little trick. You see, it required energies that you haven't even conceived of. So there's no way it can ever happen. There are many people that think that they can live forever. They have a lot of money. They can get transplants. But this just lasts so long. They will die. That's a fact. All humans will pass from this earth and return to my son's dimension of heaven. How you live your life will control exactly what takes place when you return. Many mothers pray to me. Many mothers are very worried about what will take place with their children today. They're seeing these terrible weapons, these wars. They're seeing these politicians with no regard for the people. These mothers are very worried to the extent that they have no idea what to do. There are women today that are so worried about what is going on around them that they refuse to have children. They refuse to bring these children into a world of such uncertainty. I would like to tell these women that they need to have faith in God. It is only through bringing in the young that they can be taught. You see, when women refuse to have children, they are saying that their generational life will pass from this earth. The greatest thing that a man and a woman can pass on is their children. At least those children have the ability to make their own decisions and to lead their own lives. That is how humans have evolved, through their children. If each child is better educated, if each child is more loved, if each child is taken to God and understands God exists at such an early age, then the future generations will prosper. If there are no children brought into the world, if those children are deceived in being told that God does not exist, if those children are being taught that violence and hatred is the path they should choose, then the future evolution of humans is destined to failure. Today, evil's growing at an incredible pace. Many people are telling their children that God does not exist. Many children are being led astray by their peers. They're being induced to drugs, violence, hatred. Today, you're seeing incredible hatred in the world. As we watch from over here, there are times that we actually don't know if there's a cure for this terrible hatred. Take, for instance, what goes on in the Middle East. What goes on in the very country where my son walked the earth. Some of the greatest hatred in the world is right in the pathways that he chose to walk and teach. The Jews and the Arabs have a great hatred for each other, and we often think there is no hope. But there is always hope. Someone has got to be able to break through this barrier of hatred. Somebody has got to show those people that the only path to coexistence is to love one another and to get along. Coexistence is common sense. Many people think that if they kill their neighbors, they assure that they will be able to exist and live. What a great sin that is against the people. If you kill indiscriminately, the odds are pretty good that there will be somebody else that will kill indiscriminately, and you will become the victim. If you manage to survive until you come to heaven, you will be judged for it. You will be placed in a lower level of heaven, and you will not be able to do all of the grandiose things that you could do before you decided to come back and live a life when you draw away from God. Humans are reaching a tipping point. They must learn to love, and they must learn to coexist. There is a time with all civilizations where their technologies grow to the point that they can self-emulate themselves, that they can kill everyone on their planet, that they can wipe out everyone. There have been many civilizations through the years that have not been able to realize that love is the key, and they do not any longer exist. I want each of you to think of love. I want each of you to think of faith. I want each of you to remember what my son went through. He died on the cross so that he could prove to you the true power of God through resurrection. The resurrection of my son is the greatest miracle that ever took place on this earth. But you're surrounded by incredible miracles. You're surrounded by a planet of beauty, and you're surrounded by individuals that began from 2 single cells. Think about that. When you look at the billions of people, think how few cells it took to get all of that started and created. Only God can do it. Only God can lead you on the pathway of happiness. Show love and do not show anger and hatred. You will be amazed how good you feel. Help others. You will find happiness. The only way to find true happiness is through my son. So I wanted to speak to you today, and I wanted to give you all hope. It's a time where many people do not have hope, and I want you to have it. Because it is the faith in God and hope in the future that will see you through these terrible times. I know that my son is blessing all of you that listen. My son is especially blessing all of you that pass on his words. So thank you for allowing me once again to speak. And thank you once again for showing me that you that listen truly do have love in your hearts. Goodbye. Thank you, Mary. Another incredible message. Okay, folks. I don't have much to say after that. Nothing, actually. Goodbye. We'll be back again next week. Thank you for listening.